And I'm here so we can start.
Joe, the necklace is what you're going to use. They're the best. So far.
So that's live. Okay. Be careful. Terrible signal. Yeah.
Hello, Ann. You saved a seat for you.
slides? What are the slides? I'm on. Okay.
So you want to click it real quick?
Okay, yeah.
That's it. And then we go into pictures. Got permission?
Are we gonna?
We'll be on the slide.
So I'll turn around and have everybody recite it together. We'll all recite it together.
Okay, good.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Awesome. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you all.
Thanks for letting us use your beautiful chapel.
That's the place to be.
You gave the blessing too.
Yeah. You're fine.
Come on.
They're listening anyway.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me okay? Mr. Collins, can you hear me okay in the back? All right, great. Thank you all for being here today. As you know, this is a very important and special day for our ministry. And as always, when we start our meetings, we start with prayer. And I've invited Dr. Chaplain Etta Owens to come up and lead us in prayer. Etta?
Let's pause for a moment of prayer. Heavenly Father, as we center our thoughts around your plan and your purpose for us, we always have to center them around you. God, we thank you for being our Father. We thank you for being our Creator, our Sustainer. We thank you for being our source and our provider. Most of all, we thank you for bringing us to this community where we can openly express our faith and we can live out your will and purpose in our lives day to day. God, we're excited about the things that you have in store for us, the team that has come to present the mission and the vision for where we will go forward. We know that your hand is all in all that we do. Help us to remember that all that you do is good, very good, and perfect. So we bless you for that, and we're grateful for that. Now, let everything that we say, everything that we do, always bring glory and honor to your name and your name alone, for truly you are worthy of the honor and the praise. Thank you for every person that's represented here, for our new family that you've brought into our midst. And we pray, Father God, that our latter days will be better than our former days. We bless you and we praise you in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Etta. So it's my honor to introduce you to the leader of Westminster Communities. He's someone that I've known for quite a few years, and interestingly, he started about a year after I started here. So when you talk about how God has his hand in everything, God certainly has had his hand here. I feel blessed and fortunate to have been brought here. I look forward to this opportunity to turn over the leadership to his capable hands and the hands of his team. And I think this is an important and blessed day for our organization, for our residents, for our staff. The future is bright. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague and friend, Terry Rogers.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. It's also very bright up here. There is a light in my eyes. Do I look good in the spotlight? Yeah, that's not what my wife says. Okay. So first, I want to thank all of you for the amazing, warm welcome you've given all of us today and previous meetings that we've had. I want to recognize a couple of team members that we brought with us. We have a corporate, not a corporate, okay, hit me. I put money in the jar every time we say corporate. That's a bad word. All right, money in the jar when I get back. We have a community support services office downtown Orlando, And these folks are some of the ones there that support everything that we do at Westminster. We have about, I always say 60, and then people correct me. Is that close enough? We have HR here, you should know. So that's close enough, about 60 people. So I'm going to introduce, you'll hear from some of them a little bit later, but we have Jim Pulaski. Stand up, Jim, and wave. Jim is our senior vice president of operations, so he helps lead our operations for all of our life plan communities. We have Scott Cairns. He's a regional vice president for operations, and Lakeland now is in his territory, so this is part of his region. So Scott, that's the man you want to know. All right. Joey R.C.'s been with the organization a long time. Joey is with our HR team, amazing history with our organization. And I don't even know what your final title is, HR director, but he is involved in so much stuff. And you talk about safety is a big thing that we do, right? Safety for team members is very important. Have you heard of workers' comp insurance and that? We take that very seriously, and we have unbelievable results with our safety programs, thanks to Joey R.C. Thank you, Joey, for what you do.
Thank you.
And then we have Gary Hennis is our chief operating officer. You didn't stand up. Okay. He's our chief operating officer, so if there's a person involved with doing anything, I call that operation, so I get to go to Gary and say, you need to fix that if something's messed up. Gary's been with the organization 11 years now, 12 years, just celebrated 12, right, last week. Gary is one of the most respected operational executives in not-for-profit senior living in the country. So Westminster is very fortunate to have him. He's also, this year, was just installed as the chair for the Leading Age Florida Board of Trustees. So good guy to know, right? He's a good one to know. We have Amanda Birch. Amanda is known, in my mind, as the person that does a lot of stuff. And she has been involved with quality before, but she has recently joined our HR team as our Vice President of Human Resources. She was here early. I think, Joey, you were here early. Were you here early? Jim, Mary, and you guys met some of the night shift team members coming off because we wanted to give them some FaceTime too. So Amanda's been around a while, and she's going to be around a long time. So Amanda, thank you. You're amazing. Jen Martins is our Vice President of Finance. And that means she puts all of the budgets together. She's part of our analysis team just to make sure that we are good stewards with the resources that we have been blessed with. Jen's boss, we do have a CFO, Hank Keith. He's on a much and well-deserved vacation, so we let him go because if you know anything about chief financial officers, they're grumpy. So when they get too grumpy, we send him out of the country, all right? So that's where Hank is, and he sends his apologies. Jen, am I right? You're on video. Don't answer that. You know, Hank might see it. So you'll hear from some of them in just a second. I want to just show you a couple of things here. So welcome to our family. Thank you for welcoming us to yours. I've been involved in a few of these kind of affiliations, acquisitions. This has been so smooth and so respectful, and I think it's because we're so aligned with mission and the desire to do good. And we have just amazing board members. I know I see Scott here. Scott, thank you for being here. We appreciate the history that you have here in this organization. There's a lot of history here, and there's a lot of history at most of our communities, and we like to protect that. So welcome to the family. You're now part of the Westminster family. Okay? Is it okay we call ourselves a family? Now, I don't know if you can see this. Probably I'm blocking everybody's view. Here, I'll sit down too. So, we like to recite this together. This was a mission statement created 2 years ago by our residents and team members, and we like to recite it together. So, you can say it if you want, but this is what we do every day, or we try to do it every day. We serve from the heart and inspire older adults to enjoy happy, healthy, and purposeful lives. Who wants to be happy? You laugh, but I had a lady stand up and told me I had no right to tell her to be happy. And I said, well, obviously, no matter what I say, you're not going to be. So that's right. Everybody gets to define your version of happiness, right? And we want to help support that in any way that we can. Part of our mission. Who wants to be healthy? That's a pretty easy one. And we are really striving. I think our next iteration of a wellness program really is going to be a lot more scientific and a lot more based on healthy and quality longevity. There's so much science coming out now as to how we can do that, how we can live longer, healthier, with good purpose. Who wants to have purpose? Everybody wants to have purpose. We're created to be together. And when you're together, you have responsibilities, and we need purpose. So we believe that it's part of our responsibility to create purpose within people's lives. So we can't create it unless you want us to. We're there to support it. So it's not a up-down thing, it's a together thing. All right, so that's our mission statement. You'll hear more about that along the way. So these are our founding principles that have been around a long, 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 long time. We started in 1954, so next year is a pretty big year for us. We are a church-related, not-for-profit community service organization dedicated and committed to providing services for older adults. Right, pretty easy. That's what we do. We create and we preserve excellent residential and healthcare communities promoting well-being and encouraging active and healthy lifestyle choices. Again, choices. You get to choose if you want to be healthy and happy and all that. And then we believe in and are committed to respecting and honoring each person's dignity, rights, and independence. We are committed to a program of stewardship that recognizes the responsibility to use the resources we've been blessed with well. We take that very responsible. All right? Any questions on those? So here's a map, and you can kind of see where we are. We have basically three types of communities, and we have some other stuff too, and I'll tell you about that. But we have life plan communities. We consider Florida Presbyterian Homes a life plan community. So as we get the affiliation finalized in the next few months, this will be our 11th life plan community. And then we have 12 rental communities. Most are supported through rental assistance programs through HUD, Housing and Urban Development, the federal agency, or through a rental assistance program, or they're supported through county and city housing vouchers that people with low and limited income can still live in a quality place. So those are the kinds of places that we have. We're only in Florida. I like to say we start in Pensacola at the Alabama line, and we go all the way around to Sarasota on the Gulf, and then we play over in the Atlantic a little bit from Cocoa up to Daytona, and we have some stuff in between too. So our markets are Orlando for life plan communities primarily, Jacksonville, Tallahassee, and I'm talking life plan communities, St. Pete, Lakeland now, and Bradenton. So that's where our life plan communities are. We have affordable housing communities, the rental communities. In Orlando, we have one in Sarasota. We have one in Pensacola, a very large one. We have one in Fort Walton, Cocoa Beach, Daytona, Jacksonville. Did I hit them pretty good? Canterbury. And Canterbury over in Daytona. All right, so that's who we are. We also own our own pharmacy. You can see there's a lot of prescriptions out in those buildings, right? And so we have our own pharmacy so that we can control the quality of service that our communities receive there. So a lot of opportunity there. We also have a home care private duty company. It mainly operates down in the Tampa Bay area. We've moved it up. Jim, I don't know, we're moving it, Tallahassee now, and so we're expanding that as we can. And then we're in a partnership with a medical company to provide primary care on our campuses, creating opportunities for residents who choose to have their primary care on the campus where we have one of those. They can choose to have the convenience of your doctor or nurse practitioner there on your campus. So good things, we're expanding that too. It's just now getting started, but that's kind of the things that we're involved with. So I want to, we don't have a whole lot of time. We have what? You gave me 15 minutes? What? Okay, so I've got a few things to share, and then I'm going to turn it over to Gary or whoever's name pops up. Do I need to go to another slide? Okay. I did it. Good. Well, I think if you walk away from anything after having met us today that, because it's fairly brief, try to get around all the lunch tables to at least say hello. But I hope that you take away with you the notion that everybody you meet at Westminster is just a real person, just like you. I get most disappointed when people say I'm from corporate, or corporate did this and corporate did that. Well, I know people say that, and it's fun to say, but I will tell you, I know how hard the people in Orlando at the Community Support Office work to support and endure and make sure that everything we do is done for the residents who call one of our communities home. So that's an important job, and they take that very seriously. So they are truly there to support. So I want you to know that real people trying to do the right thing. I just want you to know that all of us, we are honored, we're grateful that you chose us. I know residents, some of you knew, I think, and some of you participated, but the board, thank you to the board, and to Joe, who kind of, put it all together. Thank you for the trust that you are putting in us, and we don't take that lightly. And we know we have to earn it. Easy to have trust on the first day, second day, third day, fourth day, and on. That's the hard part. So we don't want you to give it to us blindly. We want to earn your trust. You should hold us accountable, and we have systems where you can do that. We believe that quality communication, respectful communication from you to us, from us to you, that's how we solve any problem. Or when I'm in Florida, I say that's how we survive any storm, right? That's how it works. So it is a partnership between staff, we're here because we want to be here, and you, and you're here because you want to be here. So that's how we approach it. I wanted just to share a little bit. I have been with Westminster for 3.5 years now. I started in April of 2020. You might remember something else that started around that time. Gary Henna, COO, blames me for the pandemic because I started at the same time, and I think I've got him convinced. But I had the opportunity to drive. I was living in Colorado. I had been doing a similar job and then put in for this job and talked them into it. It's an amazing organization. I knew the history. I knew people that worked in the organization. But when I got here, well, first, I was in a temporary apartment. They wouldn't let me come into the office until they got rid of all my Colorado germs. Back then, when it was first starting, if you were going from one state to another state, you had to quarantine for a few days, for a week or so. So HR wouldn't let me in the building until I had quarantined for a few days. But when I finally got into the office, I knew I had found my place. It felt amazing. It felt like a family. And to see the hard work, the care and concern that the team, all of you sitting here, well, Scott, you came a little later, I guess, after that, but you were doing it in your own place. But the care and concern that providers gave 2 times a day, all leader Zoom meetings. Does anybody know how to use Zoom now? Anybody like it yet? It is convenient, though. We would have 2 times a day leader Zoom meetings. That's how fast things were moving. And then this is the one that got me, though. There was a weekly Zoom prayer call where we would have leaders and residents, really anybody could jump on that Zoom and have a time of prayer to help us center ourselves around ensuring we were doing the right things to keep people safe. So we take safety for residents, for team members and their families very seriously. And we survived the pandemic, as did you. It wasn't fun. I hope it never happens again. But if it does, I assure you, you have a team supporting you that will do their darndest to make sure that we are all safe. So I've never doubted that I joined an amazing place since that day. And I am amazingly happy that this is the first affiliation since I've arrived. Westminster, the map you saw, all those were added through similar situations, typically a single site that said, hey, maybe we could be stronger if we joined a larger organization. And so we've grown through affiliations just like this one. And under my tenure, this is the first one. And that's pretty special to me, so you will always be special. I think, too, the facts that our missions and our organizations were so closely aligned, that makes it easy. So again, it's special. What's most special to me, though, is for that gentleman over there in the window. Joe and I have known each other, as he said, for many years. And if you know anything about Joe, you know he's a family person. He values relationships. That's how he gets things done. And I am just glad, Joe, that you count me as a friend. So this affiliation is important to me and special to me because I got to do it with a friend. And we got it done, Joe. Yeah, a lot of work, but good things to come. All right, we're going to have time for a few questions when we all get done. The last thing I wanted to cover was people ask me always about what's in the future. What's in the future? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And I get that. That's kind of our jobs. Senior leaders have to think about that. Our job is to make sure the organization is successful in fulfilling its mission as fiduciaries into the future. That's what we do. And so we have a very disciplined approach to growth. I think that we view our growth taking kind of 3 different lanes. So the first one is we have existing campuses. So where it makes sense to expand those campuses, we expand those. Many campuses in our system were built 60 years ago or longer. Guess what happens to those buildings? They need replaced or really refurbished over time. So we have a disciplined approach to looking at a campus and planning that campus way into the future. And the fun thing is that we try to get residents involved in some of that. So you don't get to pick the carpet color, but you do get to think about, as a community, what makes sense here. But we need those residents who participate in that to think the future. Because what you want to do is think about today. But really, as we're thinking about developing a campus over the next 20 years, you have to think about the future. So we look forward to doing that, but we still take care of today, too. Our job is still to take care of today. I hear Gary clearing his throat, so I'm probably saying something I shouldn't. Am I good? Good so far? Okay. So that's one lane of growth. Another one is we have grown the company through affiliations, where the missions and the people are aligned, where the culture's aligned, and we think that both organizations are better together. We have never just grown for growth's sake. We don't believe bigger is necessarily better. We believe if you can get some synergy and you can do better when you're together, then that makes sense from a mission standpoint. Bigger is not better. So the other thing we're doing, and we're excited about this, is our third lane of growth is developing brand new campuses. So from the dirt up. Not a lot of not-for-profit organizations are doing that right now, but Westminster is. We have 2 sites that we just purchased during the pandemic in Lake County, and we have one of those that we're working to develop what that might be in the future. So really an exciting time. 1 mile of waterfront on the lakes around Mount Dora. So just a beautiful, beautiful piece of property. So that's kind of our lanes of growth. We filter that through our board, through strategic planning committees, and through our mission. And their job is to make sure anything we do still aligns with our mission. So I said bigger's not necessarily better, but bigger can be better for a few reasons. So one reason to grow is you're serving more people, right? You're taking the mission that we think is effective, and we're taking that mission and applying it to support more people. So that's a good thing. We can attract the cream of the crop of leaders. So when you are bigger, the jobs are bigger, and so you have someone who wants to move up and to prove, they've already proven themselves at smaller organizations, they can move up. You become very attractive to them, and we need strong leaders in all of our positions. As we grow, our overhead becomes a smaller percentage for each campus. So you're able to take the overhead, corporate overhead, and spread it over more. So it helps control rate increases. Now, we still have rate increases. Westminster still has those. And we can implement, as we get better, even higher, more quality programming for residents. And I think one of the most important is that the bigger we are, size matters, we can build better career ladders for team members. It's amazing to see CNAs who start, or a cook who starts, and you see them in management positions years down the road. And we have a very strong development program that Joey and Amanda work with, and all of our senior leaders, to help staff grow to the capacity that they want. So those are things I wanted to share with you. I'm going to turn it over to Gary.
Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here. It's an honor to be your new COO for this organization. A little bit about me. I've been at Westminster Communities of Florida for 12 years. Prior to that, I worked in Philadelphia for the Philadelphia Presbyterian Homes and Services. I was there for many years and worked with that CEO, so I'm very familiar with our faith and our faith journeys through that process, as Terry shared. In addition to being the COO for Westminster, I am also the chair of Leading Age Florida, which serves older adults through the providers and who provide housing and services all throughout the state of Florida. So it's a wonderful organization, and it's just something that is grateful that there are such associations that help support organizations like Westminster, as well as Lakeland Presbyterian in prior years, to help have a voice in Tallahassee, to help work with all the governmentals and try to help guide where legislation goes and stuff like that. So I serve that in addition to being the Chief Operating Officer. The other piece that I'd share about myself is that after graduating from college with my undergrad degree, I decided to move into senior living at a very young age at that point. Usually, you didn't see a lot of young adults moving into working with older adults. I was about 22 years old after I graduated, started to go to grad school, and my first job was at a CCRC, very similar to Lakeland here, and I was a manager for an affordable housing community. From there, so that goes back to 1985, was where my career began, serving older adults. Through the years, my career growth went to always in operations, eventually became the COO in Philadelphia, as well as the COO position here in Florida. I feel that working in our field is a calling that I have always felt called to do this job. While I'm no longer 22 years old anymore, since 1985, I'd say I've grown up in here, in the field. And my dedication and passion continues to show through the work that I do every day in supporting this wonderful organization, supporting all of our communities, our residents, and especially our team members. So, thank you for inviting us to be here. Thank you for allowing us to serve you. And we're grateful that you are joining the Westminster family. Let me introduce Jim Glass.
I'm using that one. I think it works.
Sure. I believe this. So I learned today that this has this thing on the back, and I don't have to put it over my head in front of everybody. So they told me after I put it on my head in front of everybody earlier. They do. So, yes. So my name's Jim Pulaski. I'm the Senior Vice President of Operations for Westminster Communities of Florida. I've been with Westminster Communities for 9 years. Interesting fact about me, I suppose, is I've only ever worked at 3 companies since I got out of college. all in the senior living business. And before college, I started mowing the lawn at the nursing home, and somebody told me earlier you can't call it a nursing home, but back then, that's what we called them, and that's what I did. So 16 years there through various positions, eventually running the organization. And then 8 years with Presby's Inspired Life in Philadelphia, and then now 9 years and counting here. So I think what I've been blessed with is always working for good organizations that had the residents and the team members' best interest in mind. And I'm very blessed about that, because I feel there's a lot of people that come to our organization from other companies that don't share that same purpose and mission. So I'm very happy about that, and I feel blessed in that. I'll just share that I've been here a couple times now, and I've had the opportunity to spend some time with team members of yours, and I am very impressed that they have the mission and the vision and the heart and the service to their residents, you all, at the core of what they do. So I'm just very much looking forward to working with them and helping them, and as Terry said, being stronger together and providing the support and whatever they need to help them be more successful in serving you. And with that, I'm turning it over to Amanda Birch.
Okay, it's me. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having us today. We are honestly so truly excited and honored to be with you today, getting to know you a little bit better and having you get to know us. As Gary had indicated, all of us came to this field with a calling. Mine actually happened when I was in college. So how many of you remember the show Quincy? You remember Quincy? I see some heads nodding. I wanted to be Quincy, and my path was forensic science, and in order to get there, I had to go through medical technology and had to take chemistry and anatomy and all those other classes that I discovered I'm not good at, unfortunately. So at the same time, my grandmother went into a nursing home, and I would go visit her. And as I would go visit her, there would be several residents that were lined up in the hallway, and I would stop and I would shake their hands, and I would visit with them and talk with them and just smile. And I just felt so at home and at peace in that environment. And didn't really think anything special of it until I realized that I have 3 brothers who rarely went to visit. And I thought, you know what, maybe this is my calling. This is where I need to be. So I went back to school and actually had a degree in healthcare management with an emphasis in long-term care. So I changed that changed my trajectory, and I've been in the field ever since for 30 years. So I've worked for a for-profit assisted living chain. I've also worked for a single-site continuing care retirement community in Virginia. And then I worked for an accreditation entity that accredited continuing care retirement communities, assisted living facilities, and also skilled nursing facilities as well, in addition to a wide variety of the human services fields in addition. So I've had sort of a broad range of experiences that then brought me to the table. I started with Westminster Communities of Florida close to 9 years ago, actually in an executive director role at a campus very much like this, and then transitioned into a regional director role and then a corporate office role, and have continued to grow through the organization. So I think I'm what you would call a shining example of the potential of all of your employees here and the ability to grow through career ladders. There are a few things I just wanted to share with you while I had the opportunity to be with you today, and they revolve around our legacy, what our plans are, what our immediate plans are to support your team members, and then also your role as well and team member satisfaction. So our organization, Westminster Communities of Florida, has a rich history of taking care of team members through team member engagement. So we will continue to do that with all of your employees as well. And at this time, our primary goal is to help reassure them and help them acclimate themselves to our organization and help us get to know them as well. So we really want to spend some time with your team members, getting to know them so that we can support them through this transition and again, reassure them. And then the other thing, the last thing I wanted to share with you is, again, your role. We met with your team members this morning, and they said the same thing that our team members say about why they stay in their roles. at Westminster Communities of Florida. It's because of you as residents. You have a tremendous role in ensuring that team members are welcomed to your community and also supported and acknowledged for all the good work they do. And I know you're currently doing that. We appreciate that you plan to continue to do that and are just thrilled to be able to help support all of your team members. And that's all I have. Jen next.
I'm going to stand over. That light is like, I feel like I'm in the spotlight here. Hi, how are you? I'm Jen Martins. I'm very pleased to be here. Yes, we let Hank out for a little while as he takes a well-deserved vacation. And so I'm just kind of stepping in his place just to represent the finance arm of our organization. I guess I would be a late bloomer to the industry and to Westminster. I started back in 2009. I started with Westminster, and I was with them for about 4 years in the accounting department, and I left just because my husband found a different opportunity. I wasn't able to continue my career with Westminster. Always loved it. The mission has been just, you know, what has kept me around and brought me back. Living in California, Hank, I'm just forever grateful for him to contact me and let me know that there was another home, a place for me within the organization if I was interested. So again, living in California at the time, I told my husband, I think we're going back to Florida, so we schlepped ourselves back on over here, and I'm so happy ever since. So I've been with the organization for 10 years, all in an accounting and finance capacity. And just what I would say about Westminster and the organization, you know, we've been around pushing 70 years now, and, you know, a myriad of reasons for us, our longevity, one of which is financial strength. We are highly focused on just being good stewards of your resources, the resources that you entrust to us, for us to care for you and care for the people that care for you. So we remain financially strong. We are Fitch A- rated with credit agencies, so outside sources also have faith in us and our abilities to maintain financially strong operations. And we definitely look forward to, you know, continuing that strength with you all as new family members to the Westminster communities. And I think that's about it. So yeah, so thank you so much for allowing us to be part of your family, and welcome to ours. And we continue to look forward to supporting you.
Okay, technology, I love it. Okay, first of all, thank you for allowing us to be here. My name is Joey, and I'm in Human Resources. A little bit about me, I've been in Human Resources for a little over 35 years, the last 15 with Westminster. I always tell Mary Klein, if you met her, she hired me by mistake, because I was not in the industry. And to me, this was a great opportunity because there were two things that were important. Everybody was valuable, and faith was part of the mission statement. To me, that's very important. I'm responsible for, the way I see it, is help manage the human capital. I think the human capital is the most important asset that any organization can have. In this case, residents, you are human capital for us, you're important, and team members as well, and the leadership. So that's really what we do. I praise God every day because I do what I love, and I love what I do. And that means that, I know Terry was saying, I am involved in a lot of things, a lot more than what typical HR is, because that's what we love. We love to help each other. We love to develop the mission, further develop the mission, and most of all, make sure that what we do is to the benefit of you, because you are our most precious, precious capital. So thank you so much for having us here today.
I feel like we're playing musical chairs, and I just lost because I'm last. But hi, everyone. I'm Scott Cairns, the Regional Vice President of Operations. My introduction to the healthcare field and senior living was about 15 years ago. I became a nursing home administrator. The first building I was given was a very large building here in Lakeland. It was Palm Terrace of Lakeland at the time. It's changed names many times over the years. And today I heard that Florida Presbyterian Homes owned Palm Terrace of Lakeland years ago, for many years. So I fell in love with taking care of our residents' needs. I do have a background in the golf industry. I was a golf professional, not the touring kind, but at a golf club, private golf clubs. And I love taking care of our members' needs. And that's what I feel like we try to do here, taking care of our residents' needs and our team members' needs to the best of our ability. Obviously, we have budgets to work within, but we can do everything we can to make your lives, your best phase of your life. Right now, I oversee 2 communities in Orlando, Westminster Towers of Orlando and Westminster Winter Park, Baldwin Park. I oversee Westminster Oaks in Tallahassee, and I support Westminster Point Pleasant and Bradenton Manor over in the Bradenton area, along with Lakeland now, which I'm thrilled to be a part of. I'll be working closely with Joe and the leadership team here, often visiting the community. I was lucky enough to spend 3 days here during the most recent hurricane event that impacted our state. And you all were so thankful, or we were so thankful, and you were so welcoming to us, you and your team members. So we really appreciate that, and thank you, Joe. So I look forward to getting to know all of you better and working with the team just to continue to move forward and improve things where we can, keep things where they are if they're great, but just continue to communicate well and be there to listen and support the team. And I'll hand it back to Terry.
All right, thank you, Scott. I also want to acknowledge Mary Klein as our Chief HR, Human Resources Officer. She was here this morning, but then she had a conflict this afternoon that she could not break, so she would be here otherwise. But Amanda and Joey, y'all did a great job filling in for Mary, so thank you for doing that. And then we invited Jeff Coates. Jeff, will you stand up? Jeff Coates is our Vice President of Philanthropy. He runs the Westminster Foundation, and I know philanthropy is a big part of the culture and the history here, and I just want to know that we have Jeff. And Jeff, you can say a few things if you want to, but I know you. What, you want to? That's such a crazy question because he always wants to. Okay.
Thank you. Really nothing more than adding my welcome to everybody else. I have enjoyed getting to know people over the lunch, just in the short time I've been together, and I'm really thankful for the warm, gracious welcome. The foundation itself is pleased and delighted to be able to come and provide as much support as we can to your community and look forward to partnering with you in any way that we can. Beyond that, I look forward to seeing everybody over the time and the months to come, and we'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. All right. Now's my favorite time where I get to tell you can ask a question, and one of these people will answer it. Question. Yes, sir.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, we have a microphone.
On behalf of your customers, we be the customers. Have you entertained the idea of interviewing your customers? I can talk loud enough, I don't need that. Entertaining your customers, asking them questions. Some of them lived here 8, 10, 12, or more years, and they know things, nuances that you may not know. Little things that need to change, and you'll get those subtleties from residents. So I would encourage you to interview a group of residents and ask them what they think about that, what they think about that. It's not all bad, most of it's good, but I think it'd be a good approach to interview your customers.
So I'll answer that by saying that we work really closely with the residents on our campuses. The vehicle that we work through are our resident councils. On a monthly basis, quite frankly, leadership of the organization meets by Zoom with all 10 resident council leaders at all the life plan communities. So we rely very heavily on our resident councils. We will also work with the council to entertain surveys and get additional information that way so that we hear from all residents, not only just the council, but by the fact that the resident council are typically elected, or ever how your bylaws of your resident association or resident council are happen here. That's why we always work with the resident council to be the voice of the campus. But
Not all residents are part of the residents' council, just a very small percentage.
yes,
Okay.
thank you, sir.
What is the name of this campus? Is there going to be a change of name?
We don't know yet, but typically we try to put for our life plan communities, we call them Westminster. So we reserve the Westminster name for life plan communities. When we first started years and years and years ago, we added Westminster name to some of our rental communities, and it became very confusing. And we're just now going through the process of renaming our rental communities something different than a Westminster, so that Westminster, when you hear Westminster in Florida, you know it's a life plan community with different levels of living. So we don't know yet. We have had communities to join us, and they keep their own name for a while. Here's what I think makes the most sense for that. We got to study it. There's some science behind that. What makes the most sense for this community in this location through its affiliation with Westminster? I don't know, but we'll study that and see. Yes, sir.
Will we be receiving new resident handbooks?
I think all those details, you want to answer that? Okay. When the COO says shut up, I shut up.
No, I wasn't saying that, but resident handbooks come through our resident councils. So whatever's in your current resident handbook, we'll work with the council and make sure it's consistent with what's expected in the Office of Insurance Regulation. But not every single one of our life plan communities' resident handbook is exactly the same, because the residents get voice through that resident handbook. Now, there are some items that we'll add, and we'll work with the resident council to have a Westminster elements through there, but generally it probably won't change much.
In the back?
Will we have a regional manager on campus for complaints or every day?
Yeah, so we're organized this way in operations. We have an executive director on all of our campuses. So there will be an executive director here. That executive director will report to a regional vice president who will be here periodically. That will be Scott. The musical chairs have me confused, but Scott. Karen's here. Scott will be here from time to time. He described how many communities he has, so obviously not every day. But the executive director is expected to be the mayor of this location. They are the ones that are charged with ensuring resident life takes place the way it needs to. So the executive director here, when there's an issue, the executive director can get Scott's input, and then when Scott needs more input, we have Jim, we have Gary, and we have the other regional vice presidents. It really is a team to get things done. Any other questions? Anything in the back? Yes, sir.
Has the executive director been chosen for us yet?
We have not chosen the executive director, but we do have applications and interviews already happening, I think. Yes. So we're in the process. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Well, I have a problem that my mother taught me to talk and say things, so people know me, know I ask questions.
All right.
Now, on the finances, are we going to be able to write a check each month to pay our rent? Or are we going to be told that we're going to turn our state rent money over to somebody and they're going to write our checks and stuff like that?
Jen, you want to talk about our process?
Yeah, there's definitely autonomy on your part. No, we're not taking your money. We're not taking over your banking at all. You have the opportunity to either write a check or an automated, bank draft kind of a thing. So, yeah, no different for sure.
A different story, and I've been very happy in this transition. We have not been hearing false stories. They put the committee and they told them to keep their mouths shut, and that's exactly what they did as far as I know. And I enjoyed it.
That would be the most unusual committee I would have ever seen. So, congratulations. So, any other questions? Now, and I will tell you, as we talk about change, and this is going to take some time, okay? So we're working through that now. Things don't happen like the processes we're talking about with the handbook and all that. That's not a flip the switch and the new one's there. It takes time, especially when we talk about feedback loops and getting your feedback. It takes time to do all that. Question here?
You can have the second person fee continue?
Will the second person fee continue? I've never been at a community where we didn't have a second person fee, so correct. So a second person fee, if you have a spouse living in the same unit, there's a second person fee, monthly fee. Other questions?
I guess one of the elephant in the room is, for us, is the monthly administrative fee. And the issues that we've had is the increase per year.
Mm-hmm.
How do you manage that per year? How does that, how are we going to be impacted per year? Is it, and we'll know about it ahead of time. What's your policy about that in all your facilities?
Yeah, so we have a very thorough budget planning. So monthly service fees go toward covering operational expenses. Jen, make sure I say all this right. So that is our financial discipline, is that the fees coming in have to cover the operating expenses. So what has been driving up around the country, all the fees, is the unprecedented inflation we've been seeing in our recent history. So that is driving it. I will tell you, Westminster tries to manage expenses where we can. So when we have those pressures with inflation, then obviously there's, try to keep the expenses as controlled as you possibly can. You start watching dollars instead of $10 bills, right? You start doing those things just like we all do in our home budgets. So very disciplined approach. We start planning very early, and then you're notified what the rates are needed in your community, by community, to cover the operating expenses projected for the next year.
What have been your rate increases over the years? And I know we can't predict
Sure.
what's happening in the future.
Yeah, does anybody know them right? The averages?
Well, we've typically strove to, keep it in the 5-ish%, but unfortunately, again, with the world as it has been in the last couple of years, we have had to see higher than 5%, some double digits. That is not the goal. That is not our intention to pass along such a large increase. And every year, our philosophy, again, we're very conservative in our approach. We try to find every penny, nickel, dollar we can within the budget to keep the fee increases as low as possible for you all, so it's not as impactful. Unfortunately, sometimes it can't be avoided, but we do our very best effort to, through a very thorough scrub of the budget process. But yes, the last couple of years we have seen higher than historical increases in our rates, and we do our best to keep it as minimal. We mitigate as possible. 12%. Yes.
If I would have known that was going to happen, it would have been a whole different story.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I wasn't aware that was going to take place. Obviously, nobody's aware that inflation is going to go this way, that way, whatever. Understandable. But now that we're being taken over, excuse me.
That's not take over. Joining forces.
Now that we're being taken over by another entity, and we don't know what your entity is and how much you're going to increase or decrease or whatever, you're going to go according to what is worldwide, I guess. I'm not a financial person. All I know is that I was very upset with the 12% increase after spending thousands of dollars to come into the community. And now here we have a takeover within the next couple of 3 years or whatever. I'm really upset and scared.
Yeah, no, it's the uncertainty, and I get that. Uncertainty causes anxiety. I totally get that.
Especially when you're 80 and 90 years old.
Sure.
You need that kind of anxiety. We're supposed to be retired. We're supposed to be enjoying life.
Yeah.
And we're not supposed to be worried.
We want you to live your best life. That's right. So our range of increases across our communities was, I think, 6 to 12% last year. So we had some communities who the cost didn't go up as high. The driving force last year for every organization was labor. Was that the force here? The only, I know, but it was big. It was huge. We had employees getting raises once a quarter last year, just trying to stay competitive to what those who were hiring the same employee would hire them for. So we had to stay competitive. Never seen it, never dreamed it would happen, but it happened. We used to be able to conduct a wage survey to make sure we were fairly compensating team members. We used to do that once a year. We were doing it once a month last year, and we were off every time. The wages had gone up and up and up. So it's just hard to catch up with that, and you know, it did create anxiety for everybody. I think what we're seeing, though, just in labor, that things are stabilizing. That gives me hope. I can't predict the future, right? But that gives me hope. I always tell our team, hope is not a strategy, all right? So we have a lot to do to influence it, but we are seeing good positive signs where it won't be the same as last year. I can't promise that, but I will tell you it seems that way, it feels that way. Behind you, yes, sir.
My question is about the role of the gentleman back home and how that will have any impact on some of the out-of-control costs of this particular operation. I spent 11 years
Jeff, you want to come and answer?
nonprofit in the YMCA. I was lucky enough to be in Union County in New Jersey, which had one of the strongest organizations to deal with nonprofits. Is there anything that you're going to be able to bring to us to enable us to do a better job of gaining support as a nonprofit organization from people in the community who may be able to help keep our costs more stable? And secondly, will any of that impact the immediate cost of this community?
So, very good question, and I'll try and unpack it in brief form, and then we can dig into it a little bit further as you'd like to. The answer, as it relates to the work that our foundation does, it is to provide day-to-day support for the communities. We support all of our Westminster communities. It could range anything from providing benevolence assistance support to team member scholarship support, to support for special projects within a community that are maybe an enhancement to projects that are already being conducted. We have a fundraising operation, but our foundation is also grant giving back to the community. So our foundation gave $4.5 million of support back to the communities in various forms just over the last year alone. As it relates to sort of budgetary impact and lightening the budget, it's, I guess, sort of in some sense, no is the short answer, but anecdotally, we provide as much support as we can to the residents in the various areas that they have an interest in. But as it relates to sort of lowering bills and things like that, it is not the role of the foundation keeping the lights on, those kinds of things. To the question that you posed, the fundraising itself that we do does not rely solely on resident support, plain giving support, annual fund support, those types of things. We have just as we're developing now, a communities partners program that's looking for foundations in each community, as well as corporate sponsorship support in each community that helps bring those resources into the foundation that we will then be utilizing to support members in this community, whether they be team members or resident projects or things like that.
So you work with the community, so to speak, and go out there and sort of be solicit to try to bring money into the Westminster coffers.
Well, we do, and that's something that we're just building out now.
Okay,
You know, one thing just to make a plug for a couple of the organizations that are within our Westminster portfolio that's worth mentioning here is any residual revenues that are left at the end of a year in our Westminster pharmacy and our Westminster home care actually flow back into the foundation. So anything that you would consider to be a profit that they've made beyond expenses actually comes into the foundation, which is then dispersed back out into the community. So that's an area of resources that the foundation utilizes every year.
But I'm just concerned whether or not you guys work with the community to see if you can get more revenue from the community that way.
Absolutely. We do. We certainly do our best.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Good question. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Are we doing zero-based accounting, planning?
Yeah. I mean, we typically try to build in a small margin just so it kind of helps sustain us through future periods. But yes, it's basically zero-based.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, hog all the questions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We have a loving care fund here.
You do.
In other words, a large amount of money that is set aside that when a resident has to go into Medicare, they make sure that they will continue to stay here.
Yeah.
And that is one of the assurances that we have.
Right.
If our monies are depleted, that we can remain here.
Yes, and our life plan communities have the same thing, and we know that's here. That will not be commingled with other funds. We have other communities, as you might imagine, as you grow through affiliations, there are special funds that have been set up. So we are very accustomed to having multiple of those. We will honor those. Jeff will help any way he can as our executive over the foundation to make that work even better if we can. So absolutely, we preserve that. So I think we might have time for one more question, Joe. One more question? On the front row.
My question is there going to be more provision for people having outside activities with the community? For example, we used to have like trips at Christmas time where we would go out for lunch. Right now we have nothing beyond transportation or shopping. So the people that are here that have no family, they have no outlet, they have no chance to go out for dinner or anything like that.
Yeah, Scott,
So yeah, each community has a lifestyles coordinator / director, and they have a budget that they work within, and outside trips are part of that budget. It just depends how much each community has, but they will work closely with residents to determine which activities are most valued, and then they'll put budgeted dollars towards that. And if it ends up that, you know, a lot of trips and stuff are wanted in that, then they'll hopefully work within their budget and make that happen.
The last question, time frame, is there a time frame in this? Is it months down the road or a month down the road?
Yeah, well, I don't think the affiliation will be totally done till the end of the calendar year is what we're projecting to get the approvals we need. Now we're starting already management, so that gives us some time between now and the end of the calendar year to get some things already, you know, under our belt, some of those busy work things that we have to do. So I think you'll start seeing things fairly quickly. We're in budgeting now, so it's a good time to plan for the future. So I think it'll be sooner rather than later, but it will take some months to get it there. You know, Westminster is so special, so when we come into an organization that as special as you, it takes time to put two specials together, right? All right, so.
You just don't want to be thrown back on the burner.
You're not on the back burner. You're on the front burner right now, I promise you. I'm feeling the heat. That's right. You know, the first one's always the tough one, right? Okay, good. Thank you. So I just want to reiterate how I started. I want you to take away the notions from meeting us today that we are exceptionally honored and grateful to be part of your family now. And I want you to know, I think you've met, they sound like pretty real people to me. And guess what real people do? They make mistakes. We don't always get it right. But we're willing to say, okay, we'll work to change it and get it better. and we'll say, I'm sorry. But we are real people. Real people can deal with real people. So if you're a real people, we're real people, we are going to have a very bright future. All right. Thank you. You are all delightful. Thank you very much.